guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see behind me, I have a new project car. It's a 2012 Chevy Cruze. It's got check engine light on. I don't run very good. It also smokes. So we're going to walk you through the process of diagnosing it and repairing it. But first I'll go ahead and give you a walk around. It's in really good shape. It's got some new tires on it. I don't know if you make that out or not. As far as body wise goes, it's got some rust on the trunk. A little bit there by the tail light, then along the bottom. And then it's got some scuffs on the other panels. Interior is very clean. Well, besides my daughter stepping all over the seat. The garage is pretty dusty from working on the Del Sol, and she decided to climb all over everything. And the front bumper has some clear coat peeling. Then this vent down here is pushed in. I'm gonna be able to just pop it back out. I'll have to look at it, see what it needs. And the headlights are gonna need wet sanded and buffed and polished. It's got some hazing going on up here. It's got the 1.4 liter turbo. As you can see, there's some oil leak. Looks like possibly from the valve cover. And it's got something wet back there also on the top of the transmission. I don't know if you guys can see that. There you go. The battery is cranking over kind of slow, but yesterday I just got this car and I noticed that the brake lights were left on. I pick up on the brake pedal a little bit for them to turn off. So I don't know if the switch just needs readjusted or needs a new switch period. But we'll look into that. It's the automatic with slap shift. It's got a sunroof. It's got 150,000 miles on it. Overall, it's in really nice shape. So I guess first thing first is I'm gonna go ahead and hook up my scan tool and show you guys what codes are in it. Alright, got my scan tool hooked up. We're gonna go ahead and put in the vehicle. Chevrolet 2012. Then we'll turn the key on. And hit automatic. That should read the VIN number. It's already hooked up. Okay, there's all the information on it. It is a 1.4 turbo, 2012. Go ahead and click OK. The glare is kind of making it blurry. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and scan the whole vehicle for any code whatsoever. It'll take a little bit longer, but it's just so we have an idea. I actually bought this from a dealership. And like other YouTubers, I think I'm going to tell you guys what I have in vehicles and all parts and all that, because I plan on fixing stuff and selling it. But I actually got this car for $515 out the door. The salesman said it needed a engine most likely, but I drove it to go get gas in it yesterday and it had a misfire and it smoked. So I'm thinking it could definitely need a turbo. Could be a smoking, or it could be rings collapsed or valves not sealing up correctly. But we'll just check all these codes and alright, this one's a history code. Auxiliary electronic control unit. And this one's also a history code. Lost communication with the engine control module. That could just been a dead battery. And this one, P0300, engine misfire detected. Current DTC, test failed since DTC cleared. So that tells me there is definitely a misfire, which is pretty obvious when you drive it. We'll go ahead and hit back. Go to engine. It's automatic. Data display. We'll go into misfire. Alright, so if you look at these, misfire history 1, misfire history 3, misfire history 2, misfire history 4. That's the numbers is what cylinder it is. So as you can see on number 4, it's got a number of 12,426. So that tells me there that cylinder 4 is the one causing the problem. The other ones have little numbers, which, I mean, it's not good, but it's not bad. So we are going to first, I'll see the battery's charged up enough to start it up. As you can see on cylinder 4 there, she's climbing pretty fast. So I'm going to say cylinder 4 is definitely the problem. Alright, so first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I think pull the spark plugs out, and we'll go ahead and do a compression test, compare all the cylinders, and then see if it's got any compression, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up on the tripod while I start taking the plugs out. So I was getting out to walk behind to get the tripod. It's there. And as you can see, the brake electric's stuck on. That's what I was talking about earlier. And it's gonna turn off. Last time anyway, I just pulled up on the brake pedal. It don't really move that much, but last time it was just enough to get them to turn off. So I do believe that there's adjustment on that switch. Maybe it's too close to the pedal. I don't know. We'll look into that later, but first of all, I want to get it running good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up now. Alright, so first test I think I'm going to do, while everything's put together still, is I'm going to start it up. I'm going to take the oil cap off, and I'm going to see if I can hear anything. If the piston rings are bad enough, you could be able to hear the compression going past them into the crankcase. So we're gonna start it up. It's pretty smoky in here already, so it ain't gonna be very long. Well guys, that's not a good sign. You can yeah, piece of paper flap in there. That's most likely compression that's going past the piston ring. Let me go and shut the car off. Alright, anyways. If your compression goes past your piston ring, that's gonna go down to your oil pan, and then you're gonna be able to hear it in your valve cover here because it's all connected, of course. And it's making the paper flap pretty good, so it's got some kind of pressure in there. But we'll go ahead and do a compression test still, and I got a little test we can do to help verify it's the rings. Alright, so the first thing we want to do, pull this cover right here off. It just snaps into place. Then you get you a T30 Torx bit. Take them out of your coil pack. Now, I used to work at a GM dealership. I've worked on a lot of these. And for one, almost every coil pack, either the clip breaks or is already broken. People normally don't know how to work them, but there's a little orange tab here. It's supposed to have a little flat piece. You pull it back and then you press it down. You gotta push in and it releases it. Then you pull away from it, disconnects. Then there's actually a special tool to remove these coil packs, because you have to be very careful and pull directly straight up. You cannot tilt it one way or the other, because I'll show you why. That one actually came out pretty easy. These tubes right here are hard plastic. You can see from here up is hard plastic. So if you go prying or making it tilt, you're going to pry on this plastic, and normally it's pretty brittle and it's going to crack. So I'm going to set that to the side. We're going to get a spark plug socket. Pretty sure it's the 5/8 one. Now, this probably ain't the best way to take them out, but it's what I do most of them, so don't judge me. When you work in a shop, you get paid by the job, so you find shortcuts and ways to kind of speed up. Not bad shortcuts, like half-assed stuff, but you find ways to get a little faster. Now I take a magnet and pull the plugs up out. That's probably good on it. As you can see, maybe the plugs don't look very good. They're pretty wet. Looks kind of like oil. Okay, now all the spark plugs are out, we're gonna do a compression test on it. Now there's a couple different ways of doing it. One being you just hook your gauge up, crank it over, get your reading. Another one is you're supposed to hold the throttle wide open, but we're just gonna crank it over regularly because it's just me. I have a button here that you're supposed to hook up to your starter. You hook one end up to your starter, the one up to your positive. Then you have a button push and it turns it over. So I tried doing that and for some reason it wasn't working. Kind of sounded like the starter was spinning backwards or not engaging anyway. So now what I'm doing is using my power probe. You can apply power stuff, work around. And I took the starter relay out and I'll put on the starter side of it. And then it should crank it over, applying power. So this one is cylinder 4, which is the one that had all the misfires. And let me grab you guys and get you a little closer. Alright, so here's where the starter relay goes. It is relay number 2, which goes right here. And see how it lights up as a ground? You need to apply power to it and it starts it. That's how I'm doing that. Alright, so here's the gauge. It looks to me about like 70 psi. Okay, well now it's lower. Huh. Alright, let's go move on to a different cylinder and see what it does. When I first cranked it over, it was reading 70. Looked to be about 130, 140-ish. About 130. About 135-ish. Alright, so it's definitely something going on cylinder 4. Alright, so the compression is lower in cylinder 4, but when I worked at the dealership, these things were bad about turbos. So I went ahead and pulled the cat off of the turbo and pulled it away, as you can see there, and I can get my fingers in there and touch the propeller, and there is play. I don't know how I'm gonna let you guys see that because it's kind of tight. Actually, we got a mirror. Alright, you can see the propeller back in there on the mirror. But unfortunately, I ain't gonna be able to wiggle it and show you guys the play in it. So I know for sure it's only a turbo. And in order to get where I did with the turbo, I just took this shield off, which was 3 bolts. And the size of the socket is a E10, which is the star-shaped one. Here's the bolts. And then down at the bottom of the cat, there was a 10mm nut that holds the bracket on. And it's right down. You kind of see it there, how the bracket's off that stud. I was able to pull the cat away from the turbo. And there was also a clamp that broke on me that holds the cat up to the turbo. It goes around like that. Got a bolt that goes through it. Well, this end broke. But after you do all that, then you reach in there and shake your little propeller in there. So I guess I'm gonna possibly get a turbo for it and maybe change the oil and see if it gets any more compression in the cylinder for. I doubt it's gonna help, but it definitely needs a turbo and might as well start there. Worst case scenario on the cylinder 4 is gonna need rings. I'm gonna have to rebuild it. But when I get a turbo, I'll walk you guys through the steps of changing it. It's not terrible to do. I've done plenty of them, but it's not fun to do either. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this thing together so I can at least pull it out of the garage out of the way, so I can continue other projects. I just wanted to get an idea what this thing's gonna need. But I plan on having it done in hopefully no later than 3 months. Just gonna be a little side project. Well, it's also gonna be a windshield. I forgot to mention that. But it's a pretty nice car. I think I'm gonna be able to make some money on it. And another thing I noticed when I was driving it, I tried slap shift out and it felt weird. Well, it turns out there's supposed to be a bushing right here. See that linkage there? That should be tight on there, not be able to lift it up like that. So I don't know if I can just buy that bushing, or if I want to buy a whole new cable. But either way, that's gonna need fixed. There's where that relay goes. If you're staying on the fender side, it's the second one over on the top, so first one, second one. This one right here. See this filter, guys? It's pretty bad. You can't see light through it. I was always taught if you can't see light, you can't get air. That's kind of how I tell if they're bad or not. Well, you can kind of see a little glow if you look really close. I don't have to really tell though. So I got it all pretty well back together. Well, here's why I'm putting it back together, so I can get it all the way and do other stuff. And also, I don't want to lose anything. So I figured I'd go ahead and put the heat shield back on. The one I didn't put on was that clamp for the catalytic converter, because of course it was broke. So I'll give you guys a little start up here in a second. See what it sounds like with no cat on it. So it'll get smoky and loud. That's what that sounds like. Definitely whistles pretty loud. I'll run a hood stack. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm gonna get a turbo ordered. Obviously a new clamp. There's a gasket that goes in between the cat and the turbo. Your manifold gasket, of course. Those studs back, the nuts for the manifold don't look very good, so I might go and order those. Then there's also a drain tube for your oil that goes from the bottom of your turbo. I ain't able to see it from the top to show you guys. But anyways, it goes from the bottom of your turbo to your oil pan, and it drains the old oil. Well, not old, but it drains the oil back into the oil pan, and it is very brittle. Like 9 out of 10 of them I've done broke. So I'm probably gonna go and order one of those two, just to be safe. Better than it down a week trying to get a new one in. Then I'll go ahead and change the oil in it. Might flush the antifreeze. I haven't really looked at it yet. Oh, it don't look terrible in there. It's a little low, but it's probably because this looked like there was a coolant leak somewhere. I don't know, we'll go to that later. I know water pumps are bad on these things. But it don't look wet from up here anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and order all that stuff. Like I said, it'll be about within a month after Christmas and everything. Then I'll record the process and walk you guys through everything, just in case you guys want to save some money and do it your guys' self. Alright, well, that wraps up this video. Thanks for tuning in, and please like and subscribe for other how-tos and projects. Anything automotive related, really. Alright, you guys have a good one.